Kansai Airport, Japan. It's close to midnight on December 30th, 2019. An ex-American Green Beret and his son approach the security check carrying a large black box. Airport security asks, "What's inside?" And the ex-Green Beret replies, "Audio equipment." After a long, tense moment, security waves the pair through to their gate. Luckily for the Americans, the box is too big to send through the scanner. But had security just opened it, they would have found something way more interesting than simple audio equipment. The fugitive ex-CEO of Nissan escaping the stranglehold of the Japanese justice system. But they didn't open it, and Carlos Ghosn was finally free. Why was he running? Why did Japan hate him? Was he framed? Well, today we're gonna find out. This is everything you need to know to get up to speed on Carlos Ghosn. Big announcement, probably the biggest announcement we've ever made. The entire Donut crew is going on tour. We are gonna come to your town if you live in 5 very specific cities.
That's right.
It's gonna be so good.
It's a live theater experience based on all of our YouTube-y stuff. You're gonna be hearing about some car stuff, some tool stuff,
some joke stuff, lots of audience participation. It's gonna be a really, really fun time. Tickets go on sale Friday, April 8th. There's also VIP tickets available. Those are very limited. So if you wanna meet us in person and take selfies or whatever and ask us questions, you better hurry and get those.
This is new, I'm new, come check us out.
We're really, really, really excited about this. I'm really, really, really excited to perform live for you guys, excited to meet you guys, and excited to be in your town. So go to donut.live.com, get your tickets today. I can't wait to meet you. If you asked a screenwriter to create a larger-than-life boss character who's cunning, callous, and maybe a little evil, you'd get Carlos Ghosn. Carlos is a polarizing figure in the corporate automotive world, but he's also driven, smart, and has lived a million lives. He has nicknames like People Killer due to the snap decisions he makes that result in tens of thousands of people losing their jobs. But if he didn't do what he had to do, there's a good chance that Nissan wouldn't be around today. So does that make him a villain? I don't know. To understand, we're gonna have to take a look back at the state of Nissan in the 1990s. Now around here, we think of the 1990s as the golden era of Japanese cars. And right at the center of the JDM universe was Nissan. Around this time, they rolled out cars like the 180SX, the S14 and S15 Silvias, Z32 300CX, R33 GTR, and R34 Skyline. I just want to emphasize how unusual and cool it is that a company as big as Nissan offered this many sports cars at the same time. These cars were balanced, they handled great, and they could take a ton of boost, which quickly made them favorites for car enthusiasts around the world. From Japan to Australia to the US, people sang their praises, but on the business side, Nissan was failing harder than Joe Weber on a skate box. Nissan spent a ton of money to develop and produce these cars, like way too much money. Their supply chain used an antiquated system, so they spent 15 to 25% more money than other car manufacturers just on supplies. But they priced their cars competitively and not based on their manufacturing costs, which means that for every car that they sold in the US, they were losing about $1,000. If you're selling something, you want to make more money than you spend on it. As the 90s came to an end, Nissan had not made a profit in 8 years, and they were more than $20 billion in debt. They were in bad shape, and something needed to happen or else they would go extinct. Enter Carlos Ghosn. Beginning in 1978, Ghosn spent 18 years working at Michelin, Europe's largest tire maker. He climbed the ranks from plant manager all the way to COO of Michelin's South American operations, where he was tasked with fixing his branch of the company. Now there's one thing that you gotta know about Carlos Ghosn. My man makes moves, fast moves. He brought his branch back from bankruptcy in only 2 years and was handsomely rewarded with a title as president and COO of Michelin North America. 1 year later, Ghosn was promoted again to CEO and presided over the restructuring of the company after Uniroyal Goodrich Tire purchased it. But being the big boss man wasn't enough for Ghosn. He was hungry for more. Hungry hippos for more. In 1996, Ghosn left Michelin to become the executive vice president at Renault, in charge of purchasing, advanced research, engineering and development, powertrain operations, manufacturing. Now, if that wasn't enough, he was also in charge of Renault's South American division. This man loves jobs. Meanwhile, my resume is a half-page long, double-spaced. Ghosn restructured Renault over the course of his first year and once more raised profits big time. By 1999, he helped form the Renault-Nissan alliance after Renault purchased a controlling stake in Nissan. And that is how Ghosn landed his newest gig, COO of Nissan. After only a year as COO, Ghosn was made president, and 1 year later, CEO. Now you might be asking yourself, James, what's the difference between a president and a CEO? Well, just like in America, a CEO is more powerful than the president. Point is, when I said Ghosn makes huge, ambitious, get out of my way moves, he means it. So that brings us back to Nissan's awful financial situation. Now, when Ghosn took the reins, Nissan was nearly bankrupt and hadn't made a profit for almost a decade. Only 3 of its 46 models sold in Japan were generating revenue, meaning there were 43 duds lying around. Like when you drop a container of milk duds on the floor at the movie theater and count them, like Rain Man. Ghosn quickly announced a Nissan revival plan and called for a return to profitability. I know! Crazy. The old CEO was like, whoa, why didn't I think about profitability? That would have been a good idea for this business. And then Ghosn made it personal. And he promised that if he couldn't turn things around, he'd resign from his post in 2002. This is the kind of big, ballsy promises only someone super confident or super stupid would make. Which one was he? Now, when he said he had major changes planned, he was not lying. He cut 21,000 jobs. That's 14% of the total workforce. He shut down 5 Japanese plants and auctioned off beloved assets like the aerospace unit. For fun, he'd also spearheaded some wildly unpopular corporate culture changes, like eliminating seniority-based and age-based promotions, which were a staple of Japanese business culture. Maybe it goes without saying, but this is when his Japanese coworkers began to turn on him. So, naturally, he made everything worse. He changed the official company language from Japanese to English, and he didn't stop there. Ghosn decided to really cut costs, and Nissan would be forced to cut corners where it mattered, in their cars. Interiors were stripped down of any luxury. Metal engine parts were replaced with plastic ones. Development time was cut down, but one of the biggest ways Nissan saved money during this time was by using one transmission across a bunch of different cars. Now, this isn't that uncommon, right? But the transmission they chose for all of these cars was a CVT, or continuously variable transmission. Basically, instead of having separate gears, the CVT uses one gear that's lengthened by the use of pulleys. CVTs are pretty whack now, but as you can imagine, they were even worse 20 years ago. Nissan owners reported sluggish throttle response, shuddering, shaking, and finally complete CVT failure. Basically, the transmissions suck, dude. Why do we gotta use these, bro? They suck, Carlos. Ask anybody, man. Even if you had a Nissan with a pretty good engine like the VQ, you couldn't reliably put down the power via these CVTs. But hey, it saved Ghosn money on the production line, and annoyingly, it didn't stop people from buying them. Everyone and their aunts had Altimas, Sentras became the default economy rental car. Muranos clogged up Starbucks drive-thrus. Which brings me to my next point. The worst part about the Nissan revival plan is it worked. Like Free Ride. Do you know how hard it is to make that show? Please, stop watching it. If it gets views, we have to make more. Ghosn set out to reduce 50% of the debt level and create a profit margin in excess of 4.5% of sales by the end of 2002. These were Mount Everest goals. It was a huge ask for a company that spent 8 years in the red. But guess what? He climbed that mountain and didn't even lose a toe. I'm talking solo free climb alpinist. In 1 year under Ghosn, Nissan's consolidated net profit after tax climbed to $2.7 billion. Just 1 year earlier, Nissan posted a loss of $6.46 billion. When all was said and done, the Nissan revival plan succeeded a full 9 months before his self-imposed deadline. Ghosn then did what all normal, high-achieving corporate sharks do. He hit a plateau. Just kidding! Why'd you believe me, you idiot? This guy never plateaus. He shark swims or shark sinks. Ghosn put out the Nissan 180 plan, a brand new 3-year growth plan, which he also crushed. This guy loves crushing. He crushes all day. What is he, big pun? Rest in peace. Now, as you can probably tell, Ghosn was an insanely successful, yet infamous CEO. One who took risks and wasn't afraid to sit alone in the corporate lunchroom. He didn't need company so long as his company was making money, baby. And for a while, he was getting by just fine. After he was named president and CEO of Renault, Ghosn became the first person to run 2 Fortune Global 500 companies simultaneously. In 2016, he helped Nissan acquire a controlling stake in Mitsubishi, which meant that he had yet another new job as chairman at Mitsubishi. Because heaven forbid he ever show up to dinner with his wife and kids one time. Are you ever gonna come to a soccer game? What's my position? What's my number? What's my birthday? In 2017, Ghosn stepped down as Renault's CEO, but kept his chairman post. Perhaps he wanted to spend more time with his second wife, Carol, whom he'd married at a Marie Antoinette-themed wedding at Versailles. This Versailles. Or maybe he knew it was all too good to be true. Whatever the case, much like Louis XVI, Ghosn's time of incredible wealth and excess would soon come to an end. November 18th, 2018, Ghosn's private jet landed in Japan. Shortly after Ghosn deplaned, he was arrested by Tokyo district prosecutors. A little later, Nissan's chief executive, Hiroto Saikawa, announced that Ghosn had been kicked off Nissan's board. His crime? Ghosn, along with his top aide, a guy named Greg Kelly, underreported their compensation. Now that's a violation of securities law, and they used company assets for personal investment. Now the company didn't provide exact numbers, but the Japanese media claimed that Nissan paid for Ghosn's homes in Rio, Beirut, Paris, and Amsterdam, and that he had charged family vacations to the company. These purchases, along with expense payments, were handled by, and this is where it gets pretty bad, a shell company set up by Greg Kelly at the beginning of 2010. Now, that was around the time Ghosn divorced his first wife and began his relationship with his second. Now, I get it. Dating can be expensive. All of a sudden, you're expected to have freaking toilet paper in your house all the time? To avoid reporting his full compensation, Ghosn also had cousin Greg set up complicated payment plans that Nissan auditors didn't sign off on. The total haul? A very cool $80 million. So after Ghosn was arrested, he was taken to the Tokyo Detention House, which is the sickest named jail. Now at the Tokyo Detention House, you could be detained legally for up to 23 days without filing criminal charges. I know, it sounds like it should be illegal, but here's something you need to know. Japan has a 99.4% conviction rate, meaning that almost 100% of people accused of a crime in Japan are convicted. Japan does not around. We could go through every single minute detail of the vast charges Ghosn faced, but honestly, there were a lot. And I don't say vast that often. Every time Ghosn got close to getting out on bail, Japan would bring up new charges that would restart the clock. It was like Groundhog Day 2, Japanese prison. All in all, Ghosn's imprisonment without bail lasted until March. That is 4 months after his initial arrest. 4 months? Now, if TikTok tells me anything, that is long enough to get really good at making tamales out of hot Cheetos. And remember, he was still technically Renault's CEO until January, when France's financial minister publicly suggested that the company fire him. It is not a great look to have your CEO rotting away in a Japanese jail. If you've learned anything about the Ghosn, the man does not go down without a fight. Sure, to make bail, he had to pay $9 million, was barred from traveling abroad, had to maintain a given address under 24-hour camera surveillance with no internet access, and wasn't allowed to contact his wife? Sure. But even though he agreed to these rules, Ghosn would tell anyone who would listen that his charges were nothing more than plot and treason by Nissan executives. Of course he was gonna say that, but maybe there was something there. Leaks to the media reported that Ghosn had planned to call a vote at a board meeting to fire Nissan CEO Sayakawa and reinstate cousin Greg. Now this would have all gone down just after his initial arrest, which is suspicious, right? But even though this seems a little fishy, it's worth noting that both Renault and the US Securities and Exchange Commission found evidence of Ghosn's alleged crimes. So it's pretty clear that the man was milking all his job cows for everything they were worth, which is perhaps when our friend Carlos realized he may never get a chance to freely surf the internet or sleep next to his Marie Antoinette stand of a wife again. And this brings us to the time that Carlos Ghosn escaped to Beirut in a box. On December 29th, 2019, Ghosn left his Tokyo apartment around 6:30 p.m. to meet up with 2 men at a hotel. I mean, we've all been there, right? The team he hired to get him the f out of Tokyo noticed that Japanese security would follow Ghosn nearly everywhere, except into hotels. The 3 men then boarded a bullet train to Osaka, where they dropped into another hotel near the Kansai airport just after 8 p.m. A few hours later, only 2 men left the hotel, headed towards the airport with a suspiciously large audio equipment box. Brilliant. These men were later identified as former US Army Special Forces soldier Michael Taylor and his son, Peter. With the help of these Americans, the audio equipment box was loaded onto a private jet. The plane took off close to midnight and landed in Istanbul the next day. From there, Ghosn took a second jet to Beirut, Lebanon, his childhood home, and a country that has no extradition laws with Japan. Convenient. Carlos Ghosn was free. In all, Ghosn said that even though he was only in the box for an hour and a half, it felt like a year and a half. That sucks in there. It sucks. It's very scary and uncomfortable. Felt like a year and a half, for sure. Japan couldn't do anything about their favorite disgraced CEO. Ghosn held a press conference following his daring escape that pissed everybody off even more. A Lebanese prosecutor imposed a travel ban. All of his lawyers quit. Nissan sued him for $90 million. Standard millionaire fugitive stuff, you know? The Americans that helped him escape eventually pled guilty in Tokyo and admitted they received more than $1 million in bank transfers and Bitcoin. Crypto boyfriend style. I like crypto. Blockchain, dude. Papa Green Beret was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, and Baby Green Beret received 20 months. A third guy was sentenced too, but he wasn't in the family, and I don't want to f up the flow of the story. Well, as of now, Ghosn is still technically on the run, but that doesn't mean he's been out of the spotlight. He does occasional interviews in an attempt to clear his name. or maybe just to troll people. There's a great one on thedrive.com. I'll put a link to it below. It was really helpful in researching this. He also released a book about his experience titled Broken Alliances: Inside the Rise and Fall of Global Automotive Empire. It involves Japanese and French politics, a scathing rebuke of the Japanese judicial system, and of course, addresses Nissan's alleged internal coup. Now, this story is completely insane. But the most insane thing about it is that it's still not entirely clear what happened here. Like, yeah, he avoided prison time thanks to a Green Beret and his son, and a box that was too big for airport security. But since Ghosn's escape, there have bone some interesting internal emails leaked from Nissan execs that make it clear that there was some kind of conspiracy to frame Ghosn. And without a fair trial, we may never know what exactly happened behind the scenes at Nissan with Carlos Ghosn. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. We've touched on this story a number of times on this channel and on the podcast channel, and it keeps getting better. It keeps getting, it's still going. So pay attention to that. Check out the other videos. Nolan has made a number of wheelhouses about it, and there'll probably be more. This is like international crime stuff. It's pretty fun. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss anything. Go to donut.media.com, get yourself some merch. I'm so excited about our merch program. We're dropping new stuff almost every week. Big thanks to Joe, Christina, Gio, and Nick for helping make this video. They're right back there. Cool guys. Love you, dude. I love you.